Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Farmer with SPY QQQ Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for the first of the month, first trading day of the month of August, new month, and new value areas, which we will go through shortly. Before we get started, risk disclaimer: everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. Also, if you like these videos, please give it a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want to see more of our analysis, you can go to tribecatradegroup.com and you can check out our full service, what we do on a daily basis using coupon code TTG 2023. That'll get you half off the first month, again, to kind of check out our analysis on a daily basis. So a lot of things, once again, I feel like this has also been the theme recently. There's been a lot of areas and themes to go over in these end of day videos. There's a lot of movers going on, especially right now. You've got a lot of you have earnings season that's going on, and of course we're starting off for a new month. So that said, let me get started on a couple of these key themes for the day, and we'll go over some of these movers. But yes, here's the value area for the month of August. Now again, why do I like the value areas and volume at price so much? Because we have set levels, right? There's no anchoring to some arbitrary price to try to do, anchor VWAP. There's no trend lines that have to be drawn. You could do those, and I do draw trend lines in some of my analysis when something becomes, really particular or obvious. But ultimately, this value area is based on last month's activity, all the volume at price, and 4621 on the S&P is going at 4621.75 to be exact, is going to be something that will have to be taken out for the overall market to continue higher. In the Qs, we're starting off like just above that point of control for the month, and we have not taken out this previous peak, and we're going to have to contend with 387.18 to the upside if this market begins to kind of grind higher a little bit. IWM, also just to give you a look, opens up just inside that value area for the month of August, and that will have to push through 98.33. So all of these start the month inside value, which means a little bit range bound. And, let's be reasonable for August, right? It is not a seasonal strong month. It could be that we have this type of market that we've seen, even, you could lump in yesterday too with this, but kind of a choppy market, kind of testing the ranges a little bit. But certainly there are some areas of the market that are performing pretty decently. There's plenty of places where you can find trades. Let me go into some of that detail next. But also, one of the things that I recently created, just as I went through those, what things look like what the indices look like on the daily chart, here's what they look like on the 1 hour chart. And I thought that this was kind of interesting today. Now I've got SPY, which for the week, right? So just like I just went over on the daily chart, that value area is for the month of August, right? So for example, this value area is for the whole month of August. This value area that we're looking at on the 1 hour charts are for the week, right? Notice how SPY was above value, but now slipped back into value. So again, that kind of means that we're dealing with a range bound short. Again, this is super short term, 1 hour chart for the week, right? We're dealing with a choppy market so far for SPY. For Qs, we kind of came in here and tested the top of value, and we held it. So it's got a chance to kind of, continue to trend as long as it holds above this 382 level. If it doesn't, then you're going to get more chop, on your hands, unless it decides to kind of break and go all the way to the bottom of value. IWM is probably the most interesting out of the four because this came in, this was under pressure today. It was down, I think, a little bit more than 1% at one point, but it came in and tested that top of value and had a nice bounce to it. So like that's a trading setup that we went over midday in the trading room. Very nice hold of that top of value and bounce. All right, so I mentioned that there is definitely some things moving. So I want to talk about where I think that there's risk in the market first, and then we'll go through and we'll talk about what AMD and some of the other names are doing after hours. But, this does trouble me that yields. So if we look at TLT, which looks at the price action in bonds, not the yield, right? The yield is the opposite. But yes, we did take out these lows from the beginning of the month of July. So this to me is, could be also why the market just wanted to chop around. I don't like when yields go higher. I think that it makes equities more expensive. However, the market for now is shaking it off. Now there is support. We're looking at the daily chart. We've opened up below so just like I did the exercise there for the indices, for the equity indices, for bonds, we've opened up below value. And the one thing that's, I'm not sure I would say that this is a positive, but but we do have some support, which will be down at 93.42. Now that's a decent ways away, so that's why it's not a positive. But at least you know where this might get down to. Now you can basically short TLT if you like. Also with the 30-year bond futures, which I bring up quite a bit, I think that's a little bit more, that's closer. Again, these are different maturities. And if you look at other things like IEF or IEI, those are different duration bond ETFs. Still treasuries, but different maturities. And this support is down at 119.28. So if the trend continues in these directions, you will get to some support. Notice that this is where the lows came in here, right around, no coincidence in my opinion. This is right where equities bounced, right, and started to move higher once the low was put in, or once the high was put in for yields. Notice that virgin point of control takeout, and we bounced. And the same thing at TLT, right? Notice that took out a virgin point of control, which was all the way back from here. Okay, so this is kind of at a precarious spot, and I wouldn't be surprised, volatility did crank up a little bit this morning. I wouldn't be surprised if we get more volatility. So I think that's a risk to watch for the month. And also UUP, which is the dollar, also has been moving up, right? Since it had that move down weeks back here, it's been moving higher. Now it hasn't taken out these highs and is going to have to deal with this. But the dollar has been getting stronger the last couple of weeks, evidenced by these green candles. So I think these are must-watch areas, right? And it kind of tells you, like, I even put on an intraday hedge today because I thought that equities might spill lower because of the move that was happening in yields. But yields kind of bottomed midday and they started to bounce a little bit. But regardless, I'll move on. But I think that these two things for me are must-watch areas of the market, right? And could derail if they continue to move very quickly. Could derail this grind higher right now that we're seeing in equities. Other things that I want to go over in this video, how can we not talk about what happened in Caterpillar? Just an amazing move, up 8%, because Caterpillar just doesn't move that much, right? If you want to see, for example, Caterpillar and what it normally does on earnings, it is not that, right? 8% is one of the biggest moves that I've ever seen. And I think if you even go back here, I don't think you're going to find a quarter going all the way back. Why is this not, I don't know why this isn't in order. It is in order. Yeah. So yeah, going back to 2012, I don't see a quarter where, Caterpillar has jumped 8.8%. There was a quarter back in here at the end of last, or the first, I guess this was the first quarter. Yeah. The last quarter of 2022, where Caterpillar did go up 7.7%, but still, this is a big move. And, we, as well as many others, have been talking about the strength in the industrials, and where that's been one of your, besides the AI move this year. I think Caterpillars are certainly the other major story of this year. Certainly very strong, and also overshadowed the Caterpillar results. Overshadowed the Eaton results. And this is a name that I'm long, have been long in the TTG trend portfolio, and this has been doing pretty well. And again, it just to me shows that there's pockets of strength in the economy. Tex is another one that reported after hours. Now this one's off the highs a bit, but this is more involved in building materials. I went long a name that is involved also in building materials, which is EXP, Eagle Materials, right? And I would also watch, you know, a couple of these other names. VMC is going to report earnings. Look at the nice consolidation that you have in an uptrend, right? Another name that, so I'm just going to go through a couple charts here, but also Deere, I think, is a must watch, right? Now, Deere has more exposure to agriculture, but this looks pretty good. After this made its break higher, right? It's been sitting in here at the 20-day moving average. So this is not a bad spot here if you think that this theme continues and if you want to get long a little bit of agriculture as well, right? So that's Deere. Of course, AMD reported after hours. Now, they haven't had their conference call yet, but you know, this is a nice move, right? And as I was talking with Joel from Benzinga earlier, and I mentioned this before, and I'll say the same thing. If you really like AMD, then you know, earmuffs here for a second, because you know, AMD has not been an outperformer in the semis group, right? So maybe this gets AMD going. You know, it's been consolidating around the 50-day moving average, but again, all you have to do is basically, you know, take a look at what SMH has been doing, the overall group. Look at how, you know, obviously this has been super strong this year. AMD, I don't think is in that same, you know, area of strength, even though it's a semiconductor, but maybe this gets it going, right? One name that I did go long today was Broadcom. Broadcom, I've had on the watch list for the last couple of weeks, and it triggered for me today. You know, it triggered, and we saw call activity right out of the gate today. And it kind of came back and checked back here on that first bar, breaking the value area for the week. But, you know, let's see if this can kind of bring that, you know, get to that next leg higher, even though this has been a real star performer this year. So that's Broadcom. You know, of course, again, you know, looking at this overall semi ETF, I was going to say I was going to break up NVIDIA, but I won't do that in this video. But I think this is a pretty good look here. You know, maybe this is ready to kind of break that value area for the month and continue higher. So I think this is a must-watch area. You know, even with yields going higher, I think that you're going to continue to see some of these construction names go higher because of this supply issue that we have in a country where we just don't have enough homes yet. So I think those names are going to continue to be strong. But bottom line is I would watch for you know, what the dollar is doing and what bonds are doing. Just a few other names, because I think that this is kind of fun at this point, but Upstart and all these names are going to, I think most of these names that I'm going to cover are going to report earnings either this week or next week, but Upstart just continues to trend higher. IONQ, right, which is what, quantum computing, also, you know, a move higher. And has been breaking through here. If this continues, you know, maybe this gets back up to 2345, that virgin point of control from back in here. And Affirm actually looked pretty good today too. This is a name that really hasn't gotten going. It took it all the way to the end of the month of July before this thing finally broke out, right? And then I know this, everybody seems to love this one on Twitter, but it looks pretty good here, right? Even though this is not my favorite play, even though the initials are really obvious for AI, but this wasn't really able to kind of push higher in the month of July either. Kind of went sideways, but the price action is really tight in here. So that's another must watch. I know I'm mentioning a lot of must watches, but there's some very interesting moves. And if you want a lower play, I actually got long some of this today as more of like a speculative play, AMSC. Right, look at this move today, right? And again, I took targets in this name, but I started to accumulate this name in here, and you know, took some profits. So let's see if this name can kind of, if you know, I would love it for a move back up to like 1920. That would be great, 21, and that would be a nice trade as well. All right, guys, so that's it. I'm going to leave it there. You know, there's plenty of other things to talk about, but I want to keep these videos nice and short. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.